Background is I'm an MD. I'm double board certified in pain management and interventional pain and spine stuff. And pretty early on in my career, I realized that a lot of what we were doing was just giving people drugs, promoting surgeries. And while there's always a time and place for it, I realized we were in what we call this sick care model, very reactive medicine. So I really transitioned very quickly into what I call more of a biohacking / regenerative medicine world, where it really just focused on helping people heal and actually fixing the problem at its source. And so that really heavily influenced sort of my way I practice medicine. And I actually like to call it well care. We're all in this model where a lot of us may not be actually sick, but there's things that we want to be better in. And so that's kind of why the whole title of Becoming Superhuman really resonated with me, because I think a lot of us actually are not sick. We actually just are looking for ways to be better and healthier. And so the whole idea of sort of biohacking kind of came into play, where it's not just even about what you think that athletes will do or these super sophisticated things that might not be you. It actually can come down to very, very core principle things. And so that's actually what I really do a lot now in what I call my practice. I really just focus on really the well care model and really dive deep into what actually moves it for you. So in terms of biohacking, there's certain things that you may see that are pretty common, and there's things you may not think about. So in my talk today, I'm going to talk about sleep, NAD, which is a supplement, cryotherapy, and stem cells. I have a lot of slides, so I'll probably just kind of blast through some of them. But I thought sleep would be a fun one to focus on, because a lot of people actually don't really view sleep as a biohacking thing, but it's actually probably one of the most important biohacks you can do. So really, real briefly, biohacking, what is that? It's really the optimization of performance, health, and well-being through the utilization of science, technology, and a deep understanding of human physiology and nutrition. And I like to say really what I want to do is work with your physiology. And that's where you really can get out of the whole drug paradigm and surgery paradigm, is that when you actually know how the body works, it's actually a whole very complex, intricate system that actually can encourage itself through the proper use of certain techniques that are not drug-related or something procedure-related. So sleep, that's probably something we don't really think about traditionally. It's just how much sleep do you get, and if that's, did you get enough sleep? And really, it gets so much more complex than that, because I used to think, okay, if I go to bed at 2 a.m. and wake up at 7 a.m., I can be super productive, and that's normal, and I don't need a lot of sleep, and maybe I can function like that, but there's actually a lot of problems with not getting enough sleep. And so really, from things from cognitive impairment, memory issues, heart issues, pancreatic stuff, sleep deprivation is actually considered a cancer risk factor by the WHO organization, which is the World Health Organization. And so, other than the fact that, how much sleep do you get, it's really about the ratio of sleep. And I'll cover that in one of our graphics. Sleep is really actually beneficial because it's an anabolic state. And so really you produce energy, protein synthesis, tissue regeneration, and really when you get enough sleep, it's improving your cognitive function, physical function, mood, and then organ function. And so a lot of sleep, what we break it down into is, everyone knows about dreaming, which is REM, but really the biohack is how much deep sleep do you get? Deep sleep is a component of sleep where your body basically is actually repairing, growth hormones being secreted, your body actually has the ability to recover and do things. And so when we talk about that, we talk about our circadian rhythm. And these are things that your body is naturally programmed with. And some of us have a very standard circadian rhythm, some of ours are modified. Probably in another lecture I'll cover what your sleep chronotype is. It's the reason why some of us are morning birds, it's the reason why some of us are night owls. And then if you read any of Dr. Michael Bruce's stuff, he'll kind of break it down to even more. And so, on my particular schedule, I like to go to bed at 1 a.m., but I like to wake up more at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I structure my life around that. I don't really see clients until 10:30, 11, but that's just because that works for me. So I'm not going to fight my sleep cycle when I know that this is how my body heals and repairs. So kind of back into the whole concept, the reason why we don't think about biohacking sleep is that a lot of people just think it's a quantity thing. Sleep is actually really about quality, and the real big thing is actually deep sleep. And so there's 3 phases of sleep, what we call light sleep and actually deep sleep. But this is where it's the most critical one. And then obviously you have REM, and this is where a lot of consolidation of ideas and memories can happen. And a lot of us probably, I don't know if a lot of us have them, but I wear an Oura ring. This actually tracks my sleep, and if you have a Fitbit watch, that actually can also track it as well. And and they may vary, but in general, getting an idea of what your sleep looks like can give you some indication of where you're going. And it's kind of like that old saying, you really can't manage what you don't measure. And the idea of measuring sleep just by how many hours you got is actually extremely inaccurate. So sleep cycles, this is kind of what we call ideal sleep cycle, you get a lot of deep sleep. That's that N3. And really the first third of your night. And you get more REM sleep near the later part of your night. And so that's kind of when you wake up, you remember your dreams and stuff. So if you really kind of think about your lifestyle, your habits, I mean, I lived in Florida for a long time and I was a night owl, and you know what? That's probably why I didn't get a lot of deep sleep. I was always going to bed at 2, 3 a.m. and I was losing my deep sleep phase cycle. So I really didn't get enough sleep in terms of high quality sleep. So there's a lot of very interesting sleep strategies that you can hack. I call this sometimes sleep hygiene. You'll hear about that. It's about how much light exposure you get. A lot of things like artificial lighting, fluorescent lighting can affect your circadian rhythm, which then can affect melatonin production, which then obviously then leads to your body not going to bed on time. The quality of your bed mattress, that's why you see these things like Purple Mattress and Casper really popping up and being super, really just dialing into that whole market of why it's super important to get a good night's rest. And then air quality. Obviously that seems obvious, but a lot of people don't realize there are mold exposure or certain things in the filters that don't actually help promote good sleep. And temperature. There's actually an ideal temperature to actually go to sleep, because your body, when it drops its temperature, it actually initiates sleep. So a lot of this is very evolutionary. You really can't fight hundreds of years of how we used to do things, over time. And so again, what I talked about, this is where you hear that whole concept of blue light spectrum and people wearing those funny orange-looking glasses, or your iPhone at night actually having what we call sort of this color shift, the day shift. It's actually to promote your body to actually go to sleep better by not messing up your internal circadian rhythm. And then things like exercising daily, and then really I think one of the biggest things for me was actually going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. So that was like a simple one that I didn't really think about, but just even consistently going to bed and waking up on the same time, even on weekends, dramatically improved my deep sleep. And so from a supplement standpoint, we got Dr. Oz here, who's a master of this. He can dive deeper into it in either this lecture or another one. There's certain things that you get just from certain supplements, right? Melatonin production, that can improve the sleep initiation, and that's really what it's mostly for. But really other things like magnesium citrate, it's a mild sedative, it can help with your cortisol levels. Cortisols are related to stress. You have potassium citrate, which is synergistic with magnesium, and this can reduce muscle spasms. Sleep support things, obviously tryptophan, everyone knows about that as being a precursor. There's other little things that you can do from a supplementation standpoint. And then this one says zinc increases testosterone levels. I'll kind of tie that into more something else. This is all studies that if you go into the literature, if you're a male and you get less than 6 hours of sleep, you actually have testosterone production levels of someone who's 10 years older than you. So that's actually just the reason why you want to sleep enough on that alone. So there's a lot of people who say, I should maybe get testosterone or bioidentical hormone supplementation. You just need more sleep, and it's something simple to do. And essentially, that's kind of why I think sleep's kind of the very secret biohack that no one really actually pays attention to. Food intake, again, certain food habits, don't eat 2 hours before going to bed. Consuming slowly digestible foods such as meat no later than 4 hours before bedtime. You could do MCT oil about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. You can even do some certain collagen proteins, or even a spoonful of organic honey. Likewise, body temperature, avoid exercise 2 hours before sleep. I was that guy working out at the gym before it closed at 11 p.m., so that obviously didn't really help me very much. Cold exposure, some people, they are into this cold shower stuff, and I love it, but I do that more in the morning. That actually primes your body, doesn't help your body go to sleep. And sleeping naked, obviously, that's a temperature thing, but there's probably other benefits for that as well. So, emptying your mind, meditative stuff, all that will really help you. Stop working 1 hour before bedtime. Again, it's hard. We're so used to, even surfing on our iPhone, even if it's casual, your mind's working. And if you don't have what we call this sleep routine, it's no different than your workout routine. I treat my sleep routine like my workout routine. It's pretty much the same thing. People's to-do list, they want to do that before bedtime, do it tomorrow. Gratitude journal, mindfulness, positive affirmations, all these things have been scientifically shown to help improve your sleep. Again, kind of the whole blue light exposure, that's really pretty much related to so just basically stop working before you're trying to go to bed. And then power naps. There actually is sort of this ideal time. Really, it's 20 minutes. Avoid caffeine 1 to 4 hours before you actually take your nap. But there's this interesting paradoxical effect. If you actually take caffeine just before you take your nap, it has an interesting effect on the adenosine receptor. So you actually could do caffeine immediately before your nap. That can help out a lot. And just even wearing a sleeping mask. Again, it's the whole idea of getting all this light exposure. You know, we're basically no different than some plants, right? Photosynthesis, your body can absorb certain light. So from your eye standpoint, blackouts like blackout curtains or just even a simple eye mask can help out quite a lot. You know, your sleep goals, this is kind of where I really am intrigued by it. And there's a lot of bullet points on here, but I would say the biggest thing is your deep sleep. You know, the goal is really 10 to 20%. So what does that translate to? It really means you really want to get about an hour of deep sleep overall. So, you know, if you're that person who wants to sleep only 5 hours, I totally get it. I respect that. If you can get 50% of deep sleep, then that's fine. You know, so that's the holy grail. How do I sleep for 5 hours, but essentially sleep? It's almost like I slept for 9 hours. So that's some stuff I'm very interested in. I think that can actually be influenced by doing all these things and also neurofeedback stuff.